Buying a house today in this market is tougher than ever. And even in the last few years, you know how crazy it's been. But having owned two homes for the last 13 years, also owning investment properties, I've learned a thing or two. And working with my clients and also hearing from my subscribers, my viewers about the challenges they're facing in this market, I got to thinking, and I'm like, you know what? If I bought a house today, I would be doing this. In this video, I'm going to share with you, not just from my realtor perspective, but also as a homeowner. I'm going to share with you my perspective on the things that I would do if I was to buy a house in this market. So let's get into this right now. Okay, the first thing I would do is I would face the reality of the local market. As you know, I'm up here in northern New Jersey. We're still in a strong seller's market. Pretty much the whole state is in a strong seller's market, but there are many parts of the country where the market is softening. So get real with your local market. Really understand what's happening there. And if you're in a strong seller's market, you need to face reality with this, okay? So I don't mean to scare you, but you got to understand what's going on and be able to face it. If there are bidding wars, there are multiple offers going on, you need to understand that and be ready to face it. So if I was buying a house here in Jersey again, I would be very well prepared and understand that. And if life had me in a situation where I had to buy a house, it is what it is. I would have to deal with it. Now, for those of you in the markets that are softening, you have a little bit of an upper hand, which is a really great thing. The next thing I would do is just get financially ready for buying a house. All right. I would have all of my ducks in a row. I would have the down payment saved. And for me, I would love to put 20% down. I mean, every house that we purchase, we always put 20% down, which, worked out beautifully for us. If you can't, if you have your limit, that's fine, but get that number in your head and start saving for that. And you also need to save for your closing cost and emergency funds. I know I say this a million times, but having gone through that before, you've heard me tell my story. The first house that we bought, as soon as we closed on it, we ran out and bought furniture and all the stuff for the house. And things started to happen and we were struggling. Yeah, because we didn't have enough money in our savings account. That was dumb. That was totally dumb. So I would never do that again. So if I was to buy a house right now, I would absolutely have all of those things saved up before I even talk to a lender. I would have all that money in my bank account ready to go. Another thing about being strategic with finding the home, don't be afraid to look at the homes that have been sitting on the market for a while. This is what I do with my clients all the time. I try to see what's currently sitting, and especially if you're in a seller's market, if there's a home that's been sitting on the market for a while, the number one reason why it's been sitting is because of the price. So I would take a look at them. It may not be a bad idea to look at those homes that have been sitting for a while, more than 2 weeks, more than a month, and then see if they'll consider a lower offer. I was just able to do this for one of my clients. There was a home that was sitting on the market for like 121 days. And guess what? We got a decent deal for them because they've been sitting for a while and they were like, you know what? They took our offer because they need to move. Now, I'm not trying to say that you need to take advantage of the seller, within reason. But listen, it can't hurt to look at those homes that have been sitting for a while. The number one reason why it's sitting, it's definitely the price. Another thing that I would be doing is hiring a great real estate agent. And if you need to get connected with a real estate agent in your market, I offer a free service and I can help you get connected to one. So all you need to do is you can scan this QR code here, or you can click the link down below, fill out the form, and I will get back to you with an agent in your market. Also, if you're thinking about buying or selling here in North Jersey and you'd like to work with me, there's another link down below for all you New Jersey people. Click that link and then I will be in touch with you to set up a Zoom consultation. Now, another thing that I would do is I would shop multiple lenders for the best interest rate. And this is what I have done in the past. When we've purchased homes, my husband and I, we would talk to different lenders, different banks, to see what rates that they offer. Now, if you get your pre-approval from somebody that you do business with, whether it be your bank or you have a mortgage broker, and you shop the rates out and you find that there are other lenders that are offering a cheaper rate than what the person who pre-approved you was offering, go back to that person who pre-approved you and see if they'll match the rate. A lot of times they can do that. So you're not sacrificing that relationship that you already have with that banker or mortgage lender, they could probably match it. So super, super important, especially now because interest rates are higher. Shop out the rates. Now, to add to that, when it comes to getting your pre-approval and your mortgage and all of that, I would be cleaning up any debt that I have. I don't have student loans, but if I did, I would be wiping those out. I'd be wiping out all my credit card debt, wiping out any debt that I have, because lenders are going to look at your debt to income ratio. So if you have too much debt compared to the income that you're bringing in, you're not going to qualify, or you're going to qualify for a much smaller mortgage. Another benefit to having a good credit is that you get a better interest rate. I would be doing that along with getting your money saved. I know easier said than done, but get a plan together to start saving your money and to clean up that debt. Another thing that I would do is I would be strategic about where I'm buying the house. Now, having done this for 10 years and guiding buyers with purchasing their homes, the biggest thing we always look at is the location.
Power is a lot like real estate. It's all about location, location, location.
I personally would be looking at, the neighborhood, the accessibility to the highways, to shopping, parks, all of that stuff. Another thing you should be thinking about, so if you're looking in a neighborhood that you like, and there happens to be a house that's not as nice as the rest of the homes in the neighborhood, say it's a little bit older, it needs updating, don't shy away from that. I wouldn't shy away from that. If you can get it at a good price, it's worth it to buy that. Because once you start making improvements on that home, your value is just going to go up, especially if you are in a great location. That is something I would definitely do. And believe it or not, for the house we bought here in Jersey, the house was older. It definitely needed updating. And we've made some updates over time. And guess what? House is worth quite a bit right now. So it's worth it to buy the house that's a little bit older, needs more work. Yeah, that's what I would be doing as well. Another thing I would be doing when it comes to negotiating and making my offer is I would definitely be strategic about it. Now, if we're in a seller's market, like I am here in New Jersey, I'm going to make sure that I have a strong down payment. I have a flexible closing. Like I don't need to sell my house in order to buy. I'm going to limit the inspections. Okay. I'm not waiving inspections. I'm going to limit them. And if I had to waive the appraisal, I would do an appraisal gap coverage. Okay. So that I would say that the house needs to appraise at, say, the purchase price, and then whatever the appraisal price is, I would be willing to cover that gap within reason. Now, a lot of people are saying, I'll waive whatever, and that's fine. You can do that. But these are things that I would be considering if I was in a seller's market. Now, if you're in a buyer's market, for those of you down south and out west where the market is shifting, you have some leverage. You definitely have some leverage. So don't be afraid to go in and ask for repairs on the home inspection. Ask for the seller concessions. Ask for credit towards your closing cost. This is all coming back, guys. This is all becoming a thing now in these buyer markets. So definitely take advantage of that. Something else I wanted to add to this, say the inspection turned up that the house needed a major repair that was costing, say, like $15,000. Now, a lot of times it's standard. You'll ask for a concession. You'll ask for a credit at closing to help the buyer, offset the cost to make those repairs. I had this happen with a client a few years ago, and I got to tell you, it really worked out well for both the buyer and the seller. They ended up renegotiating the price. So for example, let's use that $15,000 number. So instead of doing the credit, they reduced the price by $15,000. What does that do? So, okay, this buyer is obviously getting to pay a lower price, but the seller, there is a benefit for that because then the seller ends up paying less taxes to the state at closing. Yeah. So the sellers were all over this. They were like, yeah, we'll take the lesser prices because then they're paying less in taxes, and they're also paying less in commission to the realtor. I mean, sorry, real estate agents, but it was to their benefit. It was a savings for them. So don't be afraid to ask for that. Bring that up with your real estate agent and see if they would be open to just say, hey, let's renegotiate the price and bring it down so it's a benefit for both parties. Another thing that I will be doing is I just be thinking long-term about the home that I'm purchasing, right? As I said before, it's important to be strategic about the house you want to buy. You want to be in a good location, number one, and I would not be afraid to buy the house that needs some work because, again, that's going to appreciate over time as we make updates to it. But I would also not be afraid of the interest rates. Now, they could come back down. There was talk about that they could come back down in the next year or so. So if I was to say have a 6.5% interest rate, I would be considering refinancing down the road. That's an option that you have to lower your interest rates. But having said that, it doesn't mean I'm going to go in and go all in and have a super high mortgage payment. I'm going to buy what I can afford today. Not what I can afford tomorrow, what can I afford today. So the whole refinancing thing, it's a great idea, but I'm going to make sure that whatever I'm buying, I can afford that monthly payment. And I'm not going to like get scared into like, I have to buy this house because prices keep going up, interest rates keep going up. No, I'm going to go with what I can afford, and I am going to think long term. So if the interest rates come back down, I will at some point have an option to do refinancing. So the bottom line is I know that I'm not going to control the market, but I can control my finances. I'm going to be buying smart. I'm not going to get emotional about it. And I'm also just going to be thinking long term, right? I'm going to think about the long term and the appreciation on this house. These are the things that I would be doing if I was going to buy a house today. And I have another thing to share with you. If you want to know the types of houses you should never buy, you should watch this. It's really good. I think you're going to really like it. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.